Can you imagine a government organisation wasting a shed load of money on a project that any fool could have told them would not work? Let's discuss it on the Trucker's Eye. In this exciting episode, we are going to be talking about the M5 motorway. Sorry, not CI5 to professionals. The M5. Any excuse to shoehorn the beginning of the Professionals TV theme in though. And it's also pretty apt to use that theme tune from the Professionals, as Highways England, or National Highways as they are now known, seem to be very professional in the way they waste money. If you were to travel southbound on the M5 between Bristol and Exeter, you may notice some strange metal structures by the side of the carriageway. Do you remember what they were actually for? No? Well, I'll tell you. Back in 2015, a trial scheme was developed by Highways England to show fuel prices of service stations along that stretch of the M5. The idea was to shame service stations along that stretch of the motorway into reducing their hefty fuel prices. Now, we all know that fuel service stations along the motorways are very expensive to buy fuel from, which here in 2024 is quite baffling to me. Everybody seems to have a sat-nav these days, and it's quite easy to locate a cheap forecourt petrol station just off the motorway. Now, there were 5 service stations along this stretch of the M5 that were all part of this trial scheme. They were the service stations at Gordano, Sedgemoor, Bridgwater, Taunton Deane and Exeter. So how the scheme would work is that they would show 3 fuel stations on your route and how much each was charging. Each petrol forecourt station would send their details of their pricing for diesel and petrol to the screens before each service station. So you would have something like this. And as you can see 3 subsequent fuel station prices on the billboard. Now, this is where I might get found out, but by my professional driver knowledge, excuse me, I think we're near Sedgemoor at this point. Sedgemoor is in 2 miles, and as you can see, the fuel price for Sedgemoor is 1 pence a litre dearer than what it is at the next service station, which would be Bridgwater. Correct? Yes, correct. And then, following that, you would have another service station, which would be Taunton Deane, and that fuel station is charging 1 pence more than what Bridgwater is, but the same as what Sedgemoor is charging. So you could make a decision based on your driving and how much fuel you have, whether you wanted to save a whole penny a litre. Now, as we all know, most cars will take about 50 to 60 litres of fuel. Some might take less, some might take more, but let's average it out at 50 litres. You'd be saving a whole 50 pence on a full tank of fuel. So now you're armed with that information that you can save a whole penny per litre of petrol or diesel just by travelling to the next service station. But here's the thing, if you were to travel past Sedgemoor services, which is actually on the motorway, and travel down to Bridgwater to save your 1 pence a litre, what the billboard doesn't actually tell you is that it's not actually on the motorway. Bridgwater services is actually off of junction 24. You have to physically exit the motorway before you get into the services. And even back in 2016, when this trial was launched, sat-navs were already available telling you where the nearest petrol forecourt stations were. And as you can see from these other billboards, the prices all remained pretty much exactly the same. Who knew that the service stations would collude and all fix the pricing to be absolutely or as near identical as possible? Well, certainly not National Highways or Highways England as they were formerly known. After all, they were the ones that needed this trial at a great expense to find that out. But just how much did this trial scheme cost? I hear you cry. Well, guess what? I can't find any information on how much the trial cost. What I did find though was that it would cost £50 million to implement this scheme if the trial would have been successful. As of 2024, there were 95 motorway service areas in the UK. This includes dual-sided services such as Stafford or Sedgemoor, which are counted as one site. So I did some quick mathematics behind the scenes, and it works out that if you install this system across England at all 80 sites, each site would cost around about £600,000. But we only have 4 on the M5 involved in this trial. So let's just say 4 times £600,000, about 2.4 million, just for this trial alone. Now obviously that's just a bit of an educated guess. It might be completely wrong. But then I found this on the internet. It shows the work that was done on each of these 4 sites. Now I'll be the first to admit, I don't know a lot about construction, but reading the details of what went into this trial project makes me think that I might not be too far off with my estimation of around £2.4 million. Sadly though, the trial was unsuccessful, and the scheme to roll it out across England was scrapped. You do have to wonder how these government organisations come up with such harebrained ideas. Who was it that thought that they could shame the big fuel companies into reducing the price of their fuel on motorways, whilst wasting the taxpayers' money to the tune of £2.5 million? So next time you're travelling south on the M5 between Bristol and Exeter, you'll know what these are for. You'll be able to roll your eyes, throw your hands up to the air, and just cry at how much money was wasted. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks very much for watching the video once again. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have subscribed, then thank you very much. If you haven't, then please consider doing so. And I will see you next time on The Trucker's Eye.